All right, welcome. Today, we are diving into an absolutely fascinating story of national ambition and, really, strategic necessity. We're talking about the incredible rise of Pakistan's defense industry.
So, let's just jump right in with the big question that's going to frame this whole thing. How on earth does a country that started with basically zero military factories transform itself into a nuclear power and a major arms exporter? It's a wild story.
And to really get it, you've got to go all the way back to the beginning. We're talking about a time of extreme vulnerability, where the country had almost nothing to its name in terms of industrial power.
I mean, seriously, imagine starting from absolute zero. When Pakistan was created, its only heavy industry was a single shipyard, KSEW, and even that was mostly for civilian stuff. The military, it was completely dependent on whatever equipment it inherited and whatever it could buy from other countries.
So you can see in these early years, there was a small step, a first step, towards self-reliance in 1951 with the Pakistan-Ordnance-Factory. But, that was quickly overshadowed by this deep reliance on the United States. Pakistan became a key Cold War ally, and that meant a whole lot of American aid.
But then, we get to the moment that changed absolutely everything. And this wasn't just some small policy shift. This was like a political earthquake that forced a total rethink of Pakistan's entire defense strategy.
And right here, this is the heart of the matter. Getting suddenly cut off from U.S. military supplies in the middle of a major war, well, that was a brutal lesson. It became crystal clear, almost overnight, that strategic independence wasn't just some nice political idea, it was about pure national survival.
And you can see the pivot right here. It's so dramatic. That U.S. embargo directly pushed Pakistan to look for new friends, which led to this really deep, long-lasting partnership with China. And that relationship would become absolutely vital for modernizing its factories and building a real domestic industry.
So, okay, with this new game plan of self-reliance, how did Pakistan actually pull it off? Well, they went big. They created these powerful, state-run organizations, each designed to become a master in its own specific area of military production.
And to run this whole massive project, the government set up a central command, if you will, back in 1972, the Ministry of Defense Production. The MoDP's whole job was to be the conductor of this growing orchestra, making sure the entire defense industrial complex worked together.
And here they are, the industrial giants, the titans they forged to get the job done. Each one had a clear mission. POF handled the bullets and bombs, HIT took care of tanks, PAC was all about aircraft, and KSEW built the warships. These four became the pillars, the very backbone of Pakistan's quest for self-sufficiency.
Okay, so this is where it gets really cool. We get to see the actual results of all this effort over the decades. Let's look at some of the landmark achievements that just show how far this industry has really come. Just look at some of these crown jewels. You've got the Al-Khalid main battle tank, the Agosta 90B submarine, which has advanced propulsion, and of course, the JF-17 Thunder. That thing is a super versatile, affordable fighter jet they developed with China, and it's been a big hit on the export market. Every single one of these represents a huge leap in technology. We're talking about a country going from nothing to producing its own modern tanks, subs, and fighter jets.
And of course, you can't tell this story without talking about the biggest milestone of them all. In 1998, Pakistan went nuclear. This was an absolute game-changer that completely redefined its place on the world stage. That day is now celebrated as Yom-e-Tekbir, which means the Day of Greatness.
But the story doesn't end there. See, the goal wasn't just to make enough stuff for themselves. The next phase was all about becoming a real player on the global arms market.
And if you need one number to really capture how successful this strategy was, this is it. By 2016, the government had cut its defense imports by a staggering 90%. I mean, think about that. That is an incredible indicator of just how self-sufficient the country had become.
And look at this, you can really see that strategic pivot we talked about earlier in living color. Even for the high-tech stuff Pakistan still needs to import, China is just the overwhelmingly dominant partner. We're talking nearly 3/4 of all its arms imports between 2016 and 2020.
So, here's the bottom line. Pakistan did it. It became an exporter. Today, it sells everything from trainer aircraft to tanks all across the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. Its main selling point is price, offering a much cheaper alternative to Western gear. But, as you can see, it's not easy. It's a tough market, and it's a real challenge to break into places dominated by the big global players.
So, that's the official story, the one about the big state-run companies.
But that's not the whole story. Not even close. There's this whole other parallel universe of Pakistani arms manufacturing that's going on in the shadows. And honestly, in its own way, it's just as amazing.
Yeah, we're talking about a place called Dara Adam Khel. It's world famous for its booming black market of handmade guns. Now, this is the total opposite of high-tech factories. This is a cottage industry with a history that goes all the way back to the 1850s.
It's really a testament to some incredible, though, completely unregulated, ingenuity. These local gunsmiths can copy pretty much any weapon you can think of, and they're doing it with basic hand tools and scrap metal from old cars and trains. The guns they make, the Hyperpass copies, can be anything from surprisingly good to dangerously bad. It's such a fascinating contrast to the official high-tech defense sector.
Which kind of leaves us with one final big question. You have these two completely different worlds of innovation existing side by side. The state-sponsored, high-tech giant, and these incredibly resourceful, unofficial gunsmiths. So what's the future hold? How will both of these industries manage to evolve and adapt as we go deeper into the 21st century?